Aloha and good afternoon. Welcome to This Is Now. We begin on the Valley Isle where the State Water Commission is meeting in Wailuku and residents and water rights advocates have packed the room.
Yeah, this comes after the state's most powerful land and water executive visited the Maui Valley at the center of the controversy over wildfires and water.
My ohana not only uses the river for our lo'i patches, which, by the way, due to the water quantity, we're not able to open all of our patches that we have ready, but had to use the water in the river as a way to fight fire because of where we are located in Kauula. Enough is enough. The amount of photos and videos that I have of Kauula running dry or dangerous low is ridiculous.
Give us the time to go through this particular winter season, because if the natural flow of water can help recharge that dry section and create the saturation level we need, then you will see that the water, if at the point of restoration, at the diversion point, we'll be able to traverse through that dry point all the way down to the ocean. And I say this with full confidence because as a Kauula resident, with my kuleana, we watch the stream like hawks.
Now, Kauula residents say water was abundant in the area before the stream was diverted. They're hoping DLNR Chair Don Chang considers directing and restoring more water to the stream. Now, the valley has been the scene of two major wildfires since 2018. Our Daryl Huff is covering this story on Maui today, and we'll have much more from the meeting coming up on later editions of Hawaii News Now.
West Maui will allow all tourist accommodations to reopen starting on November 1st. This is a change from the phased reopening plan that began on October 8th. Maui's mayor says this November 1st reopening will combine the remaining two phases in that reopening plan. He hopes this simplifies things and provides a single date for businesses and their employees to make their plans around. But the question on so many people's minds, especially displaced Lahaina residents, is what happens to those who have found refuge in some of those West Maui properties. That November 1st date will mean that hotels and other accommodations will be able to open in the remaining area from Kahana to Ka'anapali, part of the last phases. You may remember the first reopening phase that started on October 8th was from Ritz-Carlton, Kapulua to Kahana Villa. Mayor Bisson says that process ran smoothly, and during that time, the island did not see a major influx of visitors and no big disruptions to those displaced residents living in West Maui resorts. He says the Red Cross assures him that won't happen with the November 1st reopening date either. He says there is another reason to choose a single date so that families returning to work can make plans for childcare.
We know that there is a concern over housing for our displaced and impacted families. We're assured by the Red Cross that their housing will not be in jeopardy.
West Maui is not in it alone, and we'll be here for you folks until as long as we need to be here. You know, sometimes as leaders we struggle to figure out how to fix things, and this is a big challenge that I gotta say is going to require the whole community to come together.
Maui Mayor Richard Bisson announced the change yesterday after touring Lahaina with the state's three other mayors, an event to show their solidarity. Also announced yesterday, a new state-sponsored website to give Maui companies a free venue to sell their products. It's mauinuifirst.com. The site lists all kinds of businesses along with pop-up events and festivals around the state.
A teenager who was not expected to survive after being shot in the head is now communicating. 17-year-old Richiana de Guzman was shot on June 17th in Ma'ili. She has spent the last 3 months at Island Skilled Nursing and Rehabilitation in Honolulu, and just recently she fully emerged from her coma. Her mom says she's now eating on her own and can count on her hands. They're also finding new ways to communicate.
It's a communication app. So we ask her questions and then she'll press on it and answer yes or no. Are you feeling much better than a couple months ago?
Yes.
You want mommy go home?
No.
This Sunday, Richiana's mom, Susan, plans to take her to church. This will be her first public event since the shooting. Police still have not found the suspect, but the investigation is ongoing.
Another conviction tossed in the Dana, Ireland murder case. A judge recently agreed that the confession of Sean Schweitzer should be dismissed. Schweitzer admitted taking part in the brutal crime against the 23-year-old in 1991. But he says that he confessed to avoid trial and a possible lengthy prison sentence. His brother, Albert Ian Schweitzer, had his conviction thrown out in January after serving more than 20 years in prison for the crime. New DNA technology, along with advancements in other evidence methods, show the brothers did not commit the rape and murder.
At that point in my life, all I was worried about was getting home to my wife and my children. That's all that mattered to me. I knew I had to be home to support them.
The evidence was significant and credible and reliable, and it showed me that in considering Ian Schweitzer's request to set aside the conviction, that a modern jury with the newly discovered evidence would be likely to reach a different verdict, and that verdict would be of an acquittal.
A third man, Frank Pauline Jr., was also convicted by a jury. He died in prison in 2015. His attorney is trying to get his conviction thrown out posthumously.
State health officials say they found no traces of petroleum in the Navy's water system despite 12 recent complaints from customers. DOH inspectors visited homes last Thursday and say they found no sheen in the water and no odor. On-site testing also found nothing wrong, but the Navy took samples for further testing with DOH. So far, over 22 million gallons of fuel have been drained from Red Hill. American Medical Response will keep operating ambulances in Kauai and Maui counties, at least for now. The Department of Health says it will extend AMR's contract past its December expiration. This comes 2 months after the state decided to replace AMR with Falck, giving the Danish company $90 million in contracts. AMR protested, citing Falck's poor customer service record, and the deal was suspended. Now the state says it will restart the procurement process. In a statement released yesterday, Falck said in part, "While we are disappointed by the decision, we look forward to reviewing the Department of Health's new requests for proposal."
An important RSV antibody drug is in short supply, just as respiratory virus season is coming up. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is alerting doctors about limited availability for the drug called Beyfortus. The highest dosage of the drug is in short supply, and the CDC is telling healthcare workers to prioritize giving it to those infants with the highest risk of severe RSV. That includes saving the 100 milligram doses for babies under 6 months and those with underlying conditions. The CDC is recommending the 50 milligram shot for infants weighing less than 11 pounds. Drug maker Sanofi said in a statement that the demand for the product was higher than anticipated. Beyfortus is not a vaccine, but acts similarly to one by delivering antibodies directly to the blood with an injection.
Former President Donald Trump came face-to-face with his former personal attorney and longtime fixer, Michael Cohen, for the first time in 5 years in a New York courtroom. Cohen is testifying in the civil fraud case against Trump and his company. Robert Costa has more.
Michael Cohen, the longtime former fixer and lawyer for former President Donald Trump, arrived here at 60 Center Street in Lower Manhattan today to testify in the trial about Trump and his organization's alleged misconduct and fraud over the years in a civil trial being conducted and prosecuted by state attorneys in New York.
This is not about Donald Trump versus Michael Cohen or Michael Cohen versus Donald Trump. This is about accountability.
You see what his record is. He's not a credible witness.
Cohen is the key witness in this civil trial, providing behind-the-scenes detail about what Trump said and did in recent decades as he valued his own net worth and his properties, including Trump Tower and Mar-a-Lago. Trump and Cohen have had a lot of acrimony over the years, but they will not be able to speak in this first interaction they've had together in the same room in 5 years. Court rules say they can look at each other, but they have to follow the judge's direction. For Trump, this is one of many ongoing cases he is facing, including one in Georgia, a criminal case where one of his own former lawyers, Jenna Ellis, took a plea deal today and accepted 5 years of probation as that case moves forward down south. Robert Costa, CBS News, New York.
Now, even with the United Auto Workers still on strike, the earnings of General Motors actually grew last quarter. GM's earnings per share rose to $2.28. That's up from $2.25 in the past quarter. Analysts had thought the company's earnings would decline sharply. GM did take at least a $200 million hit from the first 2 weeks of the work stoppage, and those costs have risen since then because the UAW has increased the reach of the strike. The UAW has been striking against GM as well as rivals Ford and Stellantis since September 15th. The targeted strike started with work stoppages at one assembly plant for each of the automakers, but it has since grown. We're learning more details about the off-duty pilot who tried to shut off a plane's engines mid-air. Laura Aguirre has new insight from passengers who were on that flight.
He was tall, well-kempt, had a lanyard, shirt tucked in, looked well put together.
By most accounts, nothing set off alarm bells about Joseph Emerson, a career pilot for Alaska Air, on or off the job.
He seems like a really nice guy. Nothing abnormal about him. He's very caring, loves his kids.
Emerson boarded Flight 2059 out of Seattle Sunday, hitching a ride in the cockpit's jump seat, as off-duty pilots often do. Once cruising at 31,000 feet, Emerson allegedly attempted to shut off fuel to the engines. The on-duty pilot and first officer acted quickly and kept the engines from shutting down completely.
The flight attendant's announcement that said we had a situation, we needed to prepare for a landing.
She said that we're having an emergency, the plan's going to take we're diverting, and she didn't say where.
Flight 2059 was diverted to Portland as Emerson was taken from the cockpit.
I see the cockpit door open. Gentleman walks out and he walks to the back of the plane by himself.
We landed and then about 10 police officers armed came on. Then the flight attendant got back on and told us he had a mental breakdown.
44-year-old Emerson faces dozens of felony charges, including 83 counts of attempted murder. In a statement, Alaska Air says they had no known issues with Emerson, and records show he successfully completed his most recent FAA medical exam last month. I'm Laura Aguirre reporting.
While Kilauea isn't erupting just yet, volcanologists say increased seismic activity continues to be detected in the area. The Hawaiian Volcano Observatory reports a tremor being measured nearly island-wide on Monday from approximately 2:20 p.m. to 3 p.m. The activity was the strongest at the summit caldera. USGS officials say an eruption is possible in the coming weeks or months. They say inflation at the summit is currently higher than when Kilauea erupted last month.
Over the weekend, sights and sounds of the Philippines filled the air in Kona, all for a good cause. The community came together for the first ever Taste of the Philippines event. It brought in over $10,000 for the Kona Visayan Club, Philam Hawaii Foundation, and the Maui Filipino Chamber of Commerce to help families affected by Maui wildfires. The event featured cultural performances, couture designs by Iris Villacrucis, and amazing cuisine including lechon kawali, ube, cheesecake, and more, all of the Filipino favorites.
Today's Spotlight Now focuses on crime and efforts to crack down on repeat offenders. Here's Ryan Kalesuji and Yanji Denise.
Later today on Spotlight Now, it's a law enforcement doubleheader.
That's right. Honolulu Police Chief Joe Logan, along with Prosecutor Steve Alm, will be live here in the studio to take our questions and yours.
We'll see you live on air and online at 1 o'clock.
All right, let's take a live look outside. We're looking at Sacramento, California. The temperature there, 75 degrees and mostly sunny. We're going to have an update on the war in Israel as well as your local forecast here at home after a quick break.
welcome back to This Is Now. Israel says it has launched over 400 airstrikes on Hamas targets over the last day.
Yeah, the UN is warning of catastrophic conditions for Palestinian civilians. Now, this as the families of more than 200 hostages are waiting and hoping Hamas will release their loved ones. Tina Kraus reports from Tel Aviv.
As Israel ramps up airstrikes, casualties in Gaza are rising, and the struggle to move aid into the Hamas-controlled territory is growing.
We're running out of stocks of water, food, medicines.
Terror has gripped the region since Hamas's October 7th attacks on Israeli civilians. Yocheved Lifshitz, one of the two elderly hostages released Monday, said she went through hell, and her daughter says the family's nightmare isn't over.
We do not know from my mom's story what happened to my dad. We do know that he was injured.
The faces of the missing are plastered on this wall near Israel's military and defense headquarters, a reminder of what's at stake.
Where's the outrage? Where is the revulsion?
At an impassioned UN Security Council meeting, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken called for universal condemnation of Hamas's terrorism and the immediate release of hostages.
I implore every member here, use your voice, use your influence, use your leverage to secure their unconditional and immediate release.
The mental toll of the war is almost inescapable, even as Israelis here in Tel Aviv try to find a moment's peace.
It's okay.
We heard bombs in the distance as we spoke with Daniel Amagol, who came to the beach to clear his head. Daniel Vask and his family left their home in southern Israel to get farther away from Gaza.
The kids are going through a difficult time.
He says Hamas should know Israelis won't back down from a fight.
After the Holocaust, we built this country. So imagine what we will do after what happened.
Israel has vowed to destroy the terror group in a looming ground invasion. Tina Kraus, CBS News, Tel Aviv.
How's it on this Tuesday? We still got about 5 weeks left of hurricane season, and we're still very quiet in the Central Pacific. Big storm up to the north, however, and the trailing front, we've got to deal with that. And dropping some showers out there, mainly for Oahu and for Maui County today. Some of those showers are going to be a little heavy, but they're on the move, so we shouldn't see flooding conditions. And all these showers are very beneficial to the drought conditions out there. Now, the winds will remain light and variable for the next several days, so humidity levels will be sky high. It's going to be a sticky day today. We're not expecting a lot of sunshine with the cloud cover, especially for Oahu and for parts of Maui County. It's going to be drier for the tips today, and those spotty showers likely to linger through the afternoon. And as far as the surf, we are dealing with a new swell that will be peaking on north and west shores today. It's more of a northerly swell, but west side's going to get in on the action at 6 to 8. And keep in mind, with those variable winds, it's going to be a little bumpy by the middle of the day. Now, as far as the next 7 days, the weather's not going to be changing very much. Yes, it's going to be a bit wet today, especially for Maui County and for parts of Oahu. Drier conditions tomorrow as that front dissipates. But the light winds and the humid conditions will hover around for the rest of the work week. It's going to be quite sticky through Friday, and then trade winds come back, lower humidity levels due by Saturday.
Well, courts see some wild lawsuits and settlements, but this one might stand out. A Colorado judge is ordering a defendant not to pay a settlement in coins. That's after an attempt to drop off more than $20,000 worth. Cole Sullivan explains how a business dispute devolved into nickel and diming.
I got these from opposing counsel.
When they agree to a settlement,
I think it's just very petty.
This isn't what lawyers count on.
Again, I think it was pettiness, but I don't have another explanation.
Danielle Beam took a case that didn't seem like it would add up to much.
My client did some welding and fabrication for the defendant and didn't get paid for it.
So they sued and eventually settled for $23,500.
Pennies, I believe it's $25 each box.
Not spare change until it was.
At first I thought, you've got to be kidding me. And then we had to go through the logistics.
Their settlement agreement did not specify how to pay, and JMF Enterprises broke the bank. the piggy bank.
Again, it's showing you pennies, quarters, dimes, and I assume the ones you can't read are nickels.
$23,500 in coins, loose coins.
It's hard to see, but I understand that these are coins.
JMF sent Beam this video of them pouring the money into a steel box, which they delivered by flatbed truck and forklift to her office.
What can I say on camera?
She refused to accept delivery.
In our pleadings, we called it the figurative middle finger.
You know the saying, in for a penny, in for 6,500 pounds of pennies. JMF is doubling down, arguing in court filings the coins are the current coin of the realm and constitute a legal tender of the settlement.
Just to acquire that many took effort, but then to open them all up and dump them into a container, that is not just trying to pay a bill.
Last week, she asked a judge to order JMF to stop penny pinching and pay up.
Most people find it somewhat funny as long as you're not the one dealing with it. I think that took some real commitment.
Well, this may be Taco Bell's best Taco Tuesday ever. That's because the chain won its fight to end the trademark of the catchy phrase. A New Jersey restaurant was the lone holdout clinging to the trademark, but Gregory's Restaurant and Bar forfeited its trademark after more than 4 decades of owning it. Taco Bell scored a significant win in July when Taco John's, a smaller regional chain, abandoned its trademark registration in the other 49 states. Taco Bell said it fought to cancel the trademark because the commonly used phrase Taco Tuesday should be freely available to all who make, sell, and eat and celebrate tacos.
Sony is hoping to make gaming on the PlayStation easier for people with disabilities. The company is now taking pre-orders for its Access controller. This odd-looking contraption was created with one premise in mind. No two people experience disability in exactly the same way. That's why it comes with pieces that are customizable so players can tailor it to fit their individual needs. The Access controller retails for $90 and is expected to start shipping in early December. The idea of video game controllers for disabled players isn't new. Nintendo designed a hands-free controller for its Nintendo Entertainment System in the 1980s.
A prolific pumpkin grower in Ohio has a secret ingredient thanks to his son, who works at the Columbus Zoo. Monica Day has the story.
My dad's famous for his giant pumpkins. He has been growing pumpkins for around over 30 years now.
Dave Liggett, who has worked at the Columbus Zoo since 1989, has helped his dad become #1 by supplying him with #2.
Yeah, I do tend to give him a lot of crap.
Years ago, Doc Liggett asked his son about using elephant poop as fertilizer to make his pumpkins bigger and stronger.
And we talked to the head keeper here at the zoo of the pachyderms, Harry Peachy, and he suggested that we use rhino poo instead because the rhinos have more efficient digestive tracts, so there'd be less weed seed coming up in your pumpkin patch with rhino poo versus elephant poo.
And if his success is an indicator, it's working.
Well, that was Monica Day with that cute little story there.
Zoo poo.
Do you have a garden in your house, Ashley?
I do not.
Oh, well, if you start one, get in touch with the Honolulu
The
Zoo.
rhinos, yeah.
Yeah, that's the secret right there. Oh boy, let's give you one more good news now story. Take a look at this. This is good news for all of our traveling friends out there. All Nippon Airways has released and unveiled their third flying Honu jet. It made its debut for regular flights in Tokyo. The airline first introduced the double-decker Airbus A380 aircraft, which is painted to look like sea turtles, in 2018, and dedicated them to flights between Narita Airport in Tokyo and, of course, Hawaii. The plane was unveiled on October 20th. It's the third of the fleet, and they're just so cute.
So Japanese.
Oh, my goodness. Look at the excitement around that. Have you ridden in one yet?
Not the Honu, no.
I can't wait. I mean, I would like to go as well.
Yeah, very cool. Well, thank you for watching it. This is Now. We're going to have much more headlines coming up first at 4 right here on KHNL.
Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon.